Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Echo Isles. We've had a lot of replay casts on Echo Isles as of late. But honestly, I don't mind it a single bit, because this map, because of its size, because of its fairness, because of its balance, I think just caters towards crazy gameplay. It caters towards astounding and exciting matches, so let's go for another one. On the left-hand side, we've got our Orc player. We have Shadai, facing off Knoff, on the Orc side of things, on the right-hand side here in Echo Isles. And Shadai is personally one of my favorite European undeads to watch, next to Side, whom we had the pleasure of casting, I think it was like 2 weeks ago or so. And I think there's a replay of his in the pipeline, so you guys better keep an eye out for Side and more of his action there. Still not sure if it's Sidey or Side. More people call him Side, I think. Probably going to have to ask him at some point how he likes to listen to his own name being pronounced. For now, though, let's see what's going to happen. We see a Farseer coming into this mug. Very curious choice against Undead. I think Blade Master is usually the go-to, especially because he can mess with the Death Knight so much. Steal away items. You know, the Death Knight... if there's a Blade Master on the opposing side, then more often than not do you have to either buy up dust, or you have to use a lot of coils when you want to make sure that the creep doesn't get stolen away or the item falls, so the item doesn't fall into the Orc's hands. So not only does the Blade Master add a lot of physical strength into those fights, but I think he also adds a lot of mind games, you know, a lot of physical and mental stress on your opponent. So, well, Knoff goes for the Farseer. Still a solid choice by any means. The Feral Spirits can be used to harass the Acolytes near the Haunted Gold Mine, especially during the Tier 2 tech, where if a Acolyte were to fall, the Undead cannot reproduce it. Of course, creeping also super easy peasy lemon squeezy with the Farseer, as these wolves can absorb quite a lot of damage. So that's great. And which route is Knoff going to go for? Is he going to harass, or is he going to creep? Looks like he's going for a creep route here. Tries to bait out those creeps a little bit more, so he can isolate them a little bit better. And he's not really forced to fight in this choke point. Really cool, can also use some units to body block the retreating creeps if they were to do that. One Feral Spirit falls, but he should be able to get those trolls quite nicely. I love how he made sure that the majority of the damage was being soaked here by the Feral Spirits. On the other side, we see Shadai coming in with Claws of Attack +6. So nice nice item there. Some Rods of Necromancy, 1, 2, 3, 4 ghouls, and 3 skeletons. And he probably expects the Orc to be either the green spot or maybe at the mercenary camp. Actually, he probably expected the Orc to be exactly either like mercenary camp or here. And he, from the beginning, wanted to snipe this green camp off. I like this move from Shadai. Probably reading the Orc's mind and be like, hey, not a lot of Orcs are going for these green spots anymore because they have the means to go for beefier stuff right off the get-go, especially with a Farseer. So that's kind of cool. Steals away a little bit of XP, is now level 2 with the Unholy Aura. That means those ghouls and those skeletons are going to be Speedy Gonzalez. Tries to snipe a Burrow. Doesn't really get that though, right? No. With just the normal damage and those squishy units, I don't think he can put that to an end. Tries to go for a surround of the Peon. Oh, he doesn't get the coil there. A little bit of a miscalculation. Missed mana or wasted mana and gives a little bit of XP. No, never mind. The Burrow killed it. But that was a little bit unfortunate. The Death Knight now basically at 130 mana and couldn't really get any damage done here, right? No Peons killed, no skeletons to be seen. The Burrow still standing strong as well. This was a little bit of a waste here. Tries to go for a surround of the Feral Spirit. Nicely done. What Farseers can do in order to prevent the wolves from getting or giving XP over to your opponent is they can actually resummon if the cooldown, of course, is ready again. Then you can resummon those wolves just because, or just before one of the previous wolves dies. So that's a cute little thing that you can do. Found a Wand of Illusion there as well. These illusions, of course, are nice to maybe go for body blocks every now and then, prevent the enemy from surrounding units themselves. Can also be used as a formidable scouting tool. So personally, as a player, I never really liked the Wand of Illusion, right? I was always like, when I find a Wand of Illusion in one of my games, I'm always like, great, but not amazing. But I feel like if you're playing at such a high level like these pro players do, I think it's actually one of the more useful items because it gives you so much map information. And look at Shadai. He's relentless. He's not letting go. He's taken away creep cams right under Knoff's nose. And thanks to his superior movement speed, he gets away safely every time. Now the Death Knight needs to be careful. Death Knight is a very fast unit, especially with the Unholy Aura. Doesn't have movement speed boost, doesn't need it. And I think he was trying to mess with the Orc a little bit. Maybe last hitting one of those Troll Trappers. But while doing so, he needs to be careful not to get ensnared. And needs to be careful not to be surrounded. Because losing your Death Knight here would be a disaster. In the meantime, we see ghouls try to go for this small Murloc camp. Always a nice thing to do. He has enough mana for a coil, which he's using here right now. Sweet. Really well done. But here comes the speed scroll. He does have a TP, so he doesn't care about this too much. He's probably trying to juke the Orc and buy a little bit of extra time that the Orc can't use to creep. A level 2 hero normally doesn't get denied by the creeps. He's probably going to use his TP. Or is he? Wait a minute. He just wants to buy as much time as possible for these ghouls to creep. Yeah, there we go. Speaking of those ghouls, by the way, that takes a while, especially because the Nightcrawler feasts on the corpse, healing himself. But they were able to get the camp after all. Good thing the poison doesn't kill. It only brings your units down to 1 HP, but that's it. So those ghouls need to be evacuated immediately and be put to lumber. It's actually pretty crazy to see how heavily Shadai has been investing into ghouls. Normally we see fiends much earlier against Orc. But yeah, whatever floats your boat, and I think he's done a good job at keeping those ghouls alive, you know? So not only does he have a little bit of a front line for later on when Ghoul Frenzy is finished and done, but also he has really solid lumber income all the time, right? Yeah, pretty solid. He just went tier 3 and still is already back at 200 lumber. So pretty solid. The Orc going for a standard expansion here at tier 2. It has become really standard for many Orcs to actually go for that expansion. Preferably while you're attacking into the enemy base, so you keep the enemies distracted, and they basically are forced to deal with your heroes and army, other than, you know, capitalizing on the greatest weakness of this Great Hall, which is the slow building process. So there we go. In terms of items, let's actually double check real quick how that has been going. Farseer doesn't really have anything. Used all of the Wand of Illusions. The TC now, it's his time to farm. We see a very standard old school TC Farseer. The Farseer now getting a little bit more susceptible, of course, to that infamous Undead nuke. We see a Lich with a pretty sexy looking inventory already. Plus 11 damage. Claws and Gloves of Haste too. Not bad, not bad. The TC level 2 now with a greater mana. Always appreciated. That means stomp until he can stomp no more. Right? Stomp, of course, super useful when it comes to focusing a unit down. And what you want to do as an Orc is you want to ensnare a couple of fiends. And then you want to focus them down. And the TC can then be used to stomp on the Death Knight. So the life-saving, potentially life-saving Death Coil will never arrive. And you can really get rid of those fiends quite handsomely. Requires a little bit of positioning, a little bit of micro here and there, but... trigger! The beautiful intelligence. When players don't pick up the tomb. Free stats, free mana. But I guess sometimes your micro is a little bit too much on point. That Death Knight, by the way, is an absolute Terminator. 4-3-3. That's 10 bonus armor. He's reducing the enemy player's damage by 45%. That's insane. He's a Terminator. He doesn't have any utility items on him, though. No scrolls. No invul here so far. Let's actually double check on the Farseer. He's got the invul and the scroll as well. So, shop control going over to Knoff. Even if the Death Knight wanted to buy these items now, they're no longer available. I could still see a Scroll of Protection quite valuable, though, with so many ghouls who are very squishy and, you know, for the Orc, there not being any Dispel yet. Are we going to see any Dispel here? No, no Torrent Totem. No Shamans. Ooh, but some Wind Riders, ladies and gentlemen. The Wind Riders, very dangerous against those destroyers. He already used one coil. That wasn't enough. A 5-unit stomp into the backline of the Undead. Looking really, really good. Another destroyer has to be morphed to basically have a little bit of magic damage onto that Kodo there as well. Quite nice, actually. And there's no web for the Undead yet, if I'm not mistaken. There is no web yet. That means the Wind Riders have free reign. Another stun onto the Death Knight. Uses the Death Coil in the nick of time, though, to keep those fiends safe and sound. And those ghouls, we talked about this earlier, who are now reinforced by Ghoul Frenzy as well, they are providing a lot of meat shielding, right? Third hero, by the way, we have a Dark Ranger. The Cylance can be really good against the TC. And the Death Knight slowly but surely is running out of mana. Fiend after Fiend is falling. Beautiful Frost Armor here, though. Lich with a life-saving act here. Gets another Wind Rider there as well. Level 4 DK. Hello, hello, good sir. And the Undead is winning this battle. Despite losing this Destroyer super early on, despite Fiends falling left and right, now with the Dark Ranger and the Dark Arrow, with those skeletons, he can kill all of those peons. That's juicy extra XP. And if there's one thing the Undead wants for the late game, that is hero XP. Because Undead heroes will make your day a better one, even when you're undead. Alright, statue pathing mistake here. Could be caught if there's an ensnare, but no raiders nearby. So let's actually see in terms of in terms of tech, double base income for both players now, by the way. The Haunted Gold Mine was planted. Mana-wise, things are not looking so good. I think Shadai needs to calm down a little bit and maybe use some mana healing on the statues. But yeah, I mean, more Raiders, more Wind Riders, maybe more Grunts too. We see fortified defenses, reinforced defenses coming soon for this tower. Makes it much easier to hold. Like with normal towers and heavy armor, these things get blown to pieces by destroyers. So this is a really scary, sweaty moment here. The Dark Ranger very deep actually. The Berserker gets sniped immediately. That means more Skellies. And the Skellies can also be great against the Headhunters, which Knoff actually relied upon heavily, but I don't think he's going to rebuild any more Headhunters. I think he's going to rely on Wind Riders, Raiders there as well. Work units microed very nicely by Knoff here. And I think this is where the Farseer falls off. No killing potential here anymore. With a Blade Master, you could have always gone for more extra damage onto those Fiends. The Farseer not really adding anything to it, though, anymore. The Wolves only get eaten by the Destroyers. That means extra damage and healing there as well. Oh my goodness. The Wind Rider is falling there as well. And that's the GG right there. Easy comeback for Shadai there. Wonderfully done. A quick and sudden turn of events here. I actually thought Knoff looked really good with that expansion running off smoothly. But man, oh man. The Fiend micro, the DK micro, the mana management as well, the coils, everything just worked out like a charm. And when you have that magical number of destroyers, when you have impeccable hero micro, and most importantly, if you pick the right heroes to begin with against the orc that goes Farseer TC, you're going to be in a wonderful position. A lot of people still consider the Dreadlord to be a viable option as third hero. And while I agree, sometimes the Dark Ranger, I think, made such a big difference. The Cylance, so good against the TC to prevent him from stomping galore. And then, of course, as well, the Skeletons. The Skeletons in particular with the Lich and the Orb of Corruption works so well because it really is quite easy for Undeads to snipe down single targets with that armor debuff. And then those Skeletons can overwhelm an Orc, especially when the Orc doesn't have Dispel. No Walkers, no Shamans. So yeah, honestly, from start to finish, a nice game by Shadai on the Undead race, but Knoff fighting valiantly. Another nice game on Echo Isles. I hope you guys enjoyed that action. Undead Orc is one of my favorite matchups for sure. And if you did enjoy that game, let me know by dropping a thumbs up, maybe leaving a subscription, and you know, feel free to add a comment in the comment section down below about Warcraft 3, anything Warcraft 3 related. If you have a special matchup that you want to see more, if you have certain players that you want to recommend me covering, feel free to shoot those things right at me, guys. I'm here for you, and hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.